Hi, I'm Angga Rifka. In this episode, we are going to map out Ibn Arabi's perspective on the categorization of human being. If you find this video helpful, please like and share with others. And you can also support this channel through PayPal or Patreon, but there is no obligation to do so. Ibn Arabi categorizes individuals into three groups. First, Arif, gnostic or knower. Second, Ghairu Arif, non-gnostic. And third, Jahil, ignorant. As for the first type, Ibn Arabi defines it as, quote, whoever sees al-Haq from his standpoint, in him and through him, is a gnostic. A gnostic who witnesses al-Haq from al-Haq, in al-Haq and through al-Haq can be likened to a person who, possessing a pure mind and heart and free from all bodily desires, can penetrate through the surface of things and immediately comprehend the underlying realities. Such an individual comes to know God through unveiling or kashf and immediate testing or dhawq, rather than solely relying on reason. Of course, he also engages his reason within its appropriate field. This represents the highest degree of understanding achieved by experiencing things as they really are through the acts of unveiling and immediate testing. Moreover, the Gnostic is an individual who aligns himself entirely with God in every possible aspect, perceiving God through God's own eye from the very perspective of the divine. By viewing God through the divine eye, he encompasses all the self-manifestations of God within his sight. In essence, he actively witnesses the entire realm of Wujud, pulsating with the divine presence. Instead of relying excessively on reason, the Gnostic is inclined to utilize his heart for an immediate taste of the reality. The Gnostic, who understands his heart, observes with his inner eye how his heart constantly undergoes change and transforms itself in numerous ways and conditions at each moment. Also, he recognizes that his heart is nothing but a self-manifestation of al-Haq. Quote, in the eyes of the Gnostic, al-Haq is the known, which is never denied. The people of the known in this world are the people of the known in the next world. For this reason, God says, for whoever has a heart, because he knows the change of al-Haq informs by his own change in shapes. Through his self, he knows God's self, and his self is not different from al-Haq's ipseity. Nothing of the being at present or in the future is other than al-Haq's ipseity, but it is the essence of his ipseity. As the Gnostic's heart becomes stronger and advances, the object of his perception becomes visible to his internal spiritual eye before manifesting in his physical sight. Progressing further, the Gnostic attains the ability to see the object with both his physical and spiritual eyes. Upon reaching the ultimate stage, the Gnostic who witnesses and the object witnessed merge completely. At this point, it is not the human heart observing the object. Rather, it is al-Haq witnessing himself within himself, representing the stage of the saint, which in Ibn Arabi's dictionary is a broad term encompassing both prophets and messengers. The second, the non-gnostic, is an individual who witnesses al-Haq from al-Haq, in al-Haq and through his own self. Although the non-gnostic sees al-Haq within al-Haq, the eye he uses is his own. Consequently, the reality may be distorted by his subjective perception. This middle position is occupied by people of faith and people of imagination, referring to individuals who apprehend al-Haq based on authentic imagery derived from the reports of prophets. Quote, as for the people of belief, they are those who blindly followed the reports of the prophets and the messengers regarding al-Haq. They are not those who blindly follow the people of contemplation, who interpret the reports using rational proofs. By those who blindly follow the messengers, God means those who listen attentively, because the divine reports were given by the prophets. Whoever listens attentively means a witness who calls attention to the presence of imagination and its use. Concerning good deeds or ihsan, the Prophet said, "You should worship God as if you saw Him." Ibn Arabi highlights the well-known hadith on ihsan, "You should worship God as if you saw Him, for if you do not see Him, He sees you." According to Ibn Arabi's mystical opinion, this signifies the poorest level of the witnessing being discussed. It represents the lowest degree of mental presence within the ontological realm of imagination, as it instructs to worship as if you saw Him. It implies that the person has not yet genuinely seen God. There is no actual vision. Rather, the person behaves as though they have had a real vision. Unlike the Gnostic, this non-Gnostic cannot witness al-Haq through al-Haq because they still employ reason to understand the phenomenal world. However, this non-Gnostic does not push reason beyond its limits. Instead, they willingly transcend the ability of reason and adhere to where mystical intuition goes. Those two groups, i.e. the Gnostic and non-Gnostic, are those whose minds have an otherworldly structure. The third is the ignorant. According to Ibn Arabi, the ignorant one is, quote, "whoever does not see al-Haq from his standpoint, nor in him, expecting to see him through his own eyes." Conversely, this lowest degree is exemplified by individuals whose minds are built by a worldly structure, deeply entangled in physical attachments and wholly under the influence of desires, rendering them unable to perceive things as they really are. In their quest to understand God, such individuals rely exclusively on reason, unable to transcend the boundaries of logical thinking. Occasionally, such a person may have glimpses of unveiling experiences recognized by their reason as something unusual. However, when these experiences end, they become confused and ultimately submit to the judgment of reason. These individuals, in Ibn Arabi's term, are not servants of the Lord, rather they are servants of reasoning. The ignorant or servants of reasoning are in a position to perceive al-Haq as he really is. Their minds are severely constrained. In addition, they blindly adhere to reason, accepting only what aligns with its dictates and rejecting anything conflicting with it. They fail to recognize that reason is inherently powerless and incapable of delving deep into the reality of Wujud. In Fusus al-Hikam, Ibn Arabi repeatedly emphasizes the narrow limitations and fundamental inadequacy of reason, contrasting it with unveiling, which he considers the highest form of human cognition. Ibn Arabi views theologians as a conspicuous example of those who overly rely on reason. Each ignorant, undeniably including a theologian in question, worships and reveres God exclusively within a framework of a particular religious form that aligns with their beliefs. Simultaneously, they reject all other forms of worshipping God that fall outside the confines of their chosen religion. Quote, "Each individual must have a belief regarding his Lord through which he turns to Him and seeks Him. If al-Haq reveals Himself to him within this belief, he acknowledges Him. But if He reveals Himself in another belief, then he is denying Him, seeking refuge against Him, and behaving badly toward Him, while simultaneously thinking that he is behaving properly. Such a believer only believes in a God which he created in himself, for a God of beliefs is created in thought. Such believers see only themselves and what they create in themselves. Reason truly operates to confine this vast reality. Therefore, God, who is the all-embracing, is limited by the work of reason that restricts and freezes. Differentiation and diversification occur because reason defines and classifies. Ibn Arabi quotes a hadith about the witnessing states of the believers in the hereafter. On the day of resurrection, God will appear to the creatures in a strange form and say, "I am your Lord, the highest." The people will say, "No, we take refuge with God from thee." Then he will make himself manifest in a form familiar to them in their religions, Thereupon the people will cry out, "Glory be to thee, O God." In his own essence, God cannot be confined by any particular belief. He has the capacity to embody the form of every belief precisely because he transcends comparison with any belief. He is exalted far beyond being constrained or bound to any specific form. A comprehensive understanding of God in his true presence requires recognizing him as manifested in every belief, unrestricted by any belief. Consequently, the Gnostic, who is a perfect human, having attained complete knowledge of God's self-manifestation in the cosmos and within himself, apprehends the truth inherent in every belief. He comprehends that every attachment, every binding, and every limitation serve as confinement of the non-delimited Wujud. In issuing this, Ibn Arabi questions us, quote, "Observe, the levels of people regarding the knowledge of God are the same levels concerning the seeing of God in the resurrection. I have informed you of the reason which entails this. Beware of limiting yourself by a specific belief and disbelieving in everything else, lest you miss much good. Moreover, you will miss knowing of things as they really are. Be in yourself primal matter, receptive to all forms of belief, for God is too vast and great to be confined by one belief rather than another. For this reason, he said, wherever you turn, there is the face of God." He did not mention one place rather than another. He mentioned that there is the face of God and the face of a thing is its reality. The people who comprehend everything through reason are essentially those who constrain and confine their understanding of the reality as it really is. Ibn Arabi refers to these people as Ahlul Aql wa Taqyid wa Hasr, meaning the people of noting, tying, and restricting. They are the ones who apprehend any truth solely through arguments constructed by their own reason. As an example, Ibn Arabi cites a Quranic verse, "And thou threw not when thou threw, but got through." According to Ibn Arabi, this verse succinctly symbolizes the essential relationship between Al-Haq and the created beings. Ibn Arabi explains, first, God denied the act of throwing, then he affirmed it, and finally corrected the first phrase by saying that it is God who threw in Muhammad's form. In essence, the verse, thus understood, expresses nothing other than the truth about the tajalli of Al-Haq. However, only the Gnostic is capable of interpreting the verse in this sense. As for the theologians and thinkers, its true meaning is completely out of their reach. In confusion, they interpret it arbitrarily according to the dictates of their reason. As a result, their conclusion clashes with that of immediate testing, and in most cases, they go to the extreme of declaring impossible and absurd what mystical intuition recognizes as true. It's important to briefly emphasize that Ibn Arabi does not utterly criticize and devalue reason. In his view, reason has its designated domain where it functions appropriately, but it also has inherent limitations. The Gnostic, according to Ibn Arabi, is someone who utilizes reason within its proper place and prevents it from exceeding its domain. The prophets and messengers, far from being devoid of reason, are in fact individuals of exceptional reason. However, they operate within a broader scope that extends beyond the limits of reason. Quote, "The messengers are the most intelligent people, and the message they brought stemmed from the divine presence. They affirmed what the intellect affirmed and added what the intellect alone cannot perceive and what the intellect considers immediately as absurdity but acknowledges it as true after God's self-manifestation. When a person is alone by himself, he is perplexed regarding what he has seen. If he is a servant of his Lord, he ascribes his intellect to him, and if he is a servant of his own speculation, he ascribes al-haq to the rule of the intellect. This is so only as long as he remains in this world, being veiled from the next world while in this life. For the Gnostics, outwardly appear he as if they were in the form of this world, because they are dominated by the rules of this world. However, no doubt, God transforms their outward appearance into the inward appearance of the next world. In their outward form, they are known only to those to whom God has revealed their insight so that they can perceive the true nature of the Gnostics. The Gnostics are only those people who know the divine self-manifestation because they possess the form of the next world. They are gathered in this world for the last judgment and resurrected in their tombs, and they see what you cannot see and witness what you cannot witness because of God's providence for some of His servants. Thank you so much for watching. See you.